Understand their like and dislike also in the friendship circle. All of these are also embodied within certain prevailing discourses of art and culture. What is meaningful to study, what is not meaningful to visit. So I recommend it to my student, read Raymond Williams, and you would know. You can't answer this simple question simplistically, or answer it in a positivistic way of isolating factors and then asking for causal relations. You need to drag back that question into a web of meanings. So this is what I call the web, or what Clifford Geertz, a famous anthropologist, would call. For any cultural study, the first thing is not to look for one-to-one causal relation, but to try to put some action and thinking back into the web that they belong. People go or do not go to the museum because they come from a web of like and dislike, a web of family, schooling, neighborhood, and friendship relations and prevailing discourses. Only by understanding this web do you know what this act means for the young people inside this particular society. So studying culture would mean studying cultural choice of individuals within a whole web of thinking and relations. Positivism asks us to isolate factors. Anti-positivism asks us to add back the factors. You can't isolate one aspect of a person's life and then say this causes that. You have to insert that one happening within a whole nexus of thinking, desires, and practices. This is what a famous anthropologist, Clifford Geertz, called a web of significance. So he uses the image of a spider. Human beings are like spiders, spinning webs all the time. So we spin webs like our family members, our imaginations, fantasies, and desires. Every day we are surrounded by this web of desires. Every day we are surrounded by this web of significance. Why we choose to go to the museum or not depends on this web of significance surrounding us. So any responsible cultural study will first of all try to dig up the web before they proclaim any simplistic answer to isolated acts of culture. And very often when we study the web of significance of ordinary people, we would notice the webs are often unarticulated, semi-formed, taken for granted, and then unspeakable many of the times. That is why Williams would want to talk about or describe in so much detail the bus ride, the countryside, and all the Welsh social surroundings that gave birth to these certain cultural identifications. They were unarticulated. You have to dig up. You have to go inside rather than isolate mechanical factors and study them so-called scientifically. So the task for cultural studies is really to understand the web and then offer interpretation of the meanings inside those acts or those webs. In one word, Clifford Geertz offers that very famous term. If we want to study the city and its culture, the first thing we need to remind ourselves is to do thick description of a culture. 有咁厚，得咁厚 thick description. You go out there not to find isolated causal factors. You go out there to describe. And the description has to be as thick as possible. The web, we are talking about taking up a web of meaning surrounding a person. So very much unlike the medical practitioners, a medical practitioner would dress in white robe, carry a microscope with him, stethoscope with him, clear-cut instruments, clear-cut uniform, and clear-cut mind to go out into the field. Whereas we, the cultural studies researcher, would look for thick description, get ourselves dirty, and so on. So that is the first reason why positivism cannot do for our course. The second reason is culture is always imbued or filled up by power. ordinary culture often is looked down upon or suppressed. Well, culture is ordinary, but ordinary culture tends to be not recorded in textbooks, not to be given pride of praise in cultural policies in Hong Kong, for example. They often lack a voice. If you want to study ordinary culture, you are doing something very funny and naughty. You are trying to take out things that should not be dug out. For example, a few years back, I wrote and edited a book called 16 Plus, 16+, interviewing young girls, age 16 and onwards. And I asked them their life, give me my life story from age 0 onwards. How did you do as a person? Did you really read yes in school and so on? And they gave me lots of very rich details of their life. And I published that book in 2002. And I gave a copy to all of the informants who gave me that oral history of their life. I said, I only want your ordinary culture. You gave me your account of your ordinary life. Thank you. So I sent you this book. Some of them sent me back letters and responses. And one of the letters stuck in my mind. She said, I'm very grateful, Mr. Ng. I'm grateful that small potatoes like me can get published in a book like yours. I'm very thankful that my voice is heard in society. So we are talking about ordinary culture normally does not have any space on the face of this earth. When we try to go to Wan Chai, go to Circuit Lane to study culture, come on, we are Hong Kong U students, elites of this world. Some of the best intellectuals in the whole Chinese community. We go out there to study something seriously and then put them in a report and then give a press conference in December. So what are you going to do? What actually you're going to do is to overturn the hierarchy of credibility that this society has conventionally given us. We take up the invisible. We take up people who are often defined as bad and unruly, and then give a voice back to them. In that sense, we are following from a tradition of subterranean sociological studies or community studies, deviant studies, and working class culture studies. People who are not reputable in this work, but they go out there and study. For example, dying communities. They went out there, document what happens there, and then give a report on the dying communities. Deviant studies, for example, sociologists of that brand, typically smuggle themselves inside rave parties, eat, drink cakes and whatever with the participants, and then wrote books on how deviance could be a career. They also go inside working class communities and then walk the streets with the kids, speak the foul language with the kids, and then reveal their world to the full, to the outside world. What happens is for this kind of studies to take on the underdog, the side of the underdog. The way you choose a topic, the way you further give light or space and time to the underdog, means that you are doing something anti-conventional. You disturb the official hierarchy of credibility. That's why when you read one of the essential articles of the lecture, the one by Howard Becker, he rhetorically gave the title to that paper called Whose Side Are We On? That is the first thing we need to answer. Whose side are we on? And Becker suggests we don't avoid that question. We have to state clearly from the beginning, we are on the side of the underdog. Otherwise, there will be no need to study ordinary culture and give voice to the underdogs of this world. So we need to do thick description. We need to declare our stance openly. All of these are anti-conventional positivistic model. Lastly, why positivism is not good enough for doing social research of our time? It is because ordinary culture in the city nowadays is under threat in the globalization context.